Okay, good morning. We're starting with the Chok for Noach L'Yom Revi, Noach for Wednesday. The Mussar starts as follows: Tzarich lira milifgom ki shiv'a hema einei Hashem. So the Moshetot hem, basically, the pasuk in Zechariah tells us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has 7 eyes. So what does that mean? It's very cryptic, it's very deep, but the concept is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always watching us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always watching us, and they're hovering back and forth, completely and constantly scanning all of our deeds. Hem me'idim al kol pegam hanaseh shebahem shemitztayer hakol. So it basically is going and it's becoming an ed, a witness on lo alenu, anything wrong that a person does. כמו שאמר הכתוב, והרע בעיניך עשיתי. עוד מסוג זה, similarly, שהוא מכניס פגם הטמא בין הקדושים. When an individual does something wrong, he is amongst holy things, bringing fault, bringing a blemish, as we'll see. הלא יאמרו מי גרם שייכנס המצורע הזה בינינו, הלא ודאי יענש. For example, people who are holy or kadosh, meaning they're pure, they're ready to be in the Bet HaMikdash, eat from the sacrifice in the Bet HaMikdash, and then a mitzorah, a leper, someone who has leprosy, he comes to and to everybody. What does he do? He's making them all tameh. We know that one who has leprosy has to be separated from everyone else until he quarantines, until he becomes tahor again, until he purifies himself. So what does he do? He would come and he would get involved with everybody. Then he's making everyone else tameh. Everyone else doesn't like the person. Well, what are you coming? So that's what we do. When we do something wrong, we are not only to ourselves, but towards Hashem, towards Am Yisrael. In every single facet, we are like that mitzorah, like that, we say leopard, right? Leper. The leper, he gets involved in and ruins everyone else's purity. So that's what a person who sins does. Bifrat hamdaber lashon hara. Hu agorem hagadol shemiyad hapegam oleh. He says slander, speaking derogative about other individuals, even if it's true, as we know lashon hara is, that is one of the worst things a person can do. That the blemish right away enters as by the witnesses and by the eyes of Hashem and by judgment. Ushne hamalachim haolchim im ha'adam hem bedelim mimeno. An individual always has 2 angels with him. Now, these angels, when a person does something wrong, they leave him. They run away from him. Now, these angels protect us. These angels help us. But they leave as soon as a person does do something inappropriate. Vehem avelim alav. And then they mourn over the individual. They're like your guardian angels. So you sin, they leave, then they start mourning over you. Ad shuvo, until a person does teshuvah, shenemar vashalem nichumim lo v'le'avelav. What does that mean, lo v'le'avelav? Avelav means his malachim, his angels that are there, that they also will sit in mourning based on the person's sins. V'yitene libo lashuv shelo yu hamalachim avelim elav, and a person should pay attention to try to do teshuvah, if not for his own sake, at least for the sake of his guardian angels, in order that they should not mourn over an individual's wrongdoings. New concept. When a person does something wrong, the Torah itself, now again, the Torah is always referred to many different things. In this context, the Torah is referred to literally the white parchment with the black letters written on it. The Torah itself, the Mussar tells us today, comes and writes on a person's forehead what he did wrong. So basically, sometimes, it's not so common nowadays, but it used to be more common. They say that the Arizal would look at a person and would be able to tell him what he has to rectify, what his purpose in his life is. So they would ask him, what is this Ruach HaKodesh? What type of Kabbalah is this? They said it's simple. The Zohar tells us when a person sins, the Torah writes on his forehead what he did wrong. Certain people can see it, certain people can't. So it's kind of interesting. The Zohar tells us that a person has written on their forehead what they did wrong, and the tzivot, basically the legions of God, chas v'shalom, curse the individual based on his identity that he has on his forehead. So I remember in yeshiva once the rabbi Baruch Hashem is still there, but we had a rabbi who was known to be also mikubal. He would teach us Gemara, he would teach us Halacha, but he was also a mikubal. Like, he slept very, very little. He was a very special person. So one time he told us this, and automatically everyone went like this. But listen, it's obviously a spiritual concept, but even on a physical concept, a person that does good, a person that does chesed, a person that learns Torah, versus a person that does the opposite, their face looks different, a person's eyes look different, a person's appearance looks different, somewhat. I don't know, maybe some of us could tell, some of us can't tell, but something about a person's face does follow his deeds and his heart and his soul. As we know, the eyes are the window to the soul. So there is some truth on a physical level, but it's obviously more on a spiritual level. What?
We say in Spanish that the face is the reflection of the soul.
Yeah. Okay, now it says as follows: Ve'amru zichronam livracha ki kedei la'avir haroshem. So what do? How do you do teshuvah besides for stopping the wrong that one has done? Tzarich shivke. Person has to cry over the sins that he has done. Virchatz bidmaot panav. He should take his tears and wipe himself.
Oh, wipe the...
He doesn't really say his al mitzcho. La'avir admaot al mitzcho. Ki b'metzach nichtavim ha'avonot. So a person has to cry so much that you're able to take some tears and go like that. Well, it's written here, right?
Yeah.
כדכתיב, והתווית תו על מצחות האנשים ותהיה כוונתו בדבתו באלפא בטא אשמנו, בגדנו, גזלנו, לתאר כ"ב אותיות, הפגומים בעוונותיו. So now when a person, we know, we're starting again on Sunday, we're going to start the confession again. We know it's in alphabetical order. When a person is doing that in their alphabetical order, they should have in mind that the 22 letters of alphabet that one is confessing on is also coming to rectify the 22 letters of the Torah that was written on his forehead, what he's done wrong, and absolve him from that. Interesting. ולקבל עליו גזרת הדין לטהר המידות, וזהו, ואתה צדיק על כל הבא עלינו וכו'. וצריך שיסתכל, person has to look into, כי שמא כשחטא העולם חציו זכאי וחציו חייב. This is famous from the Rambam. The Rambam tells us a person always has to understand that he is the deciding factor. The whole world is all half in the merit and half in the dismerit. And a person always has to look at that your deeds are what's gonna tip the scale for the whole world, not only for yourself. And that's a sense of commitment and responsibility that the Torah tells us that we have to give an outlook for. Half merit, half dismerit, and you are going to be the tipping scale for the good. A person always realizes that the world's relying on them, that others are relying on them, that responsibility promotes success, hopefully for the good. ובעוונותיו,
זאת אומרת, למשל דוגמה, קיר עומד ליפול, אתה אומר לו, תשמע, קיר עומד פה ליפול, תשים תמיכה שלא ייפול. אתה אומר לו, בוא מלאחרים, מה זה נחשב?
No, I don't think you're speaking on the same idea.
No?
No, off topic. Sorry.
Okay, but...
I think we'll try maybe after, okay? Okay. ובעוונותיו הכריע העולם לכף חובה, וכמה עניים צועקים ברעה שהוא עשה שהכריע העולם לכף חובה, וכלל הפגמים האלה כלל. So as follows, how many, it says here, poor people, but really unfortunate people are screaming and crying out of the fact that when they realize that they have done things which bring dismerit to themselves and obligation to them in the world, based on the sins that they have done. Now, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai sums it up. Klal, Hatana Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai alav shalom. Bidvarim ketzarim, he said it in a very summed up manner. Man de'avar al pikudei oraita, one who transgresses the commandments in the Torah, kavyachol pagim le'ela upagim letata. He blemishes the upper worlds as well as the lower worlds. Pagim legarme, he blemishes his own self. Ulchol almin, and to all the worlds. So that was very, very serious. Let's move on to the halacha. I think we got the concept. This halacha, no, Joel? Okay, this halacha he's going to be jumping all over the place. I'm going to spend a couple moments on each one. I think it's very, very important halachot. One of the biggest misconceptions is that if a person wants to buzz themselves, if a person wants to get a haircut, they're allowed to shave their head completely down to the skin. Now, where does this, we've spoken about this before, where does this misconception come from? Where doesn't it come from? It comes from in the time of the Bet HaMikdash, the Levi'im. The Levi'im would, and even the Kohanim, whoever was involved in the service in the Bet HaMikdash, and they would be obviously in contact with the animals and the sacrifices, they would shave themselves from head to toe before their service started. From head to toe. Another concept is also a mitzorah. Everything.
What's the reason?
I'm almost positive it was for cleanliness. Okay? Then a mitzorah and a nazir, before they would finish off their tahara process, they'd also shave from head to toe. Now, nowadays people say, okay, so I'll take off all the hair on my head, and I'll take off all the hair on my beard, because I'm taking everything off. It's not allowed. It's absolutely not allowed to be done. Now here we're gonna even understand, even certain parts are not allowed. It's a style. Some people, they like cutting their sideburn in half. The thin sideburns, trimming their sideburns. It's not allowed. It's a Torah obligation. It's a serious thing. So let's read and then we'll explain. Peot hazagan hem chamisha. There's 5 parts on the beard which are considered the corners that the Torah tells us you're not allowed to shave. Now, there's a difference between the beard and the sideburns. The beard is allowed to be shaven down to the bottom as long as a knife does not come in contact with him. We'll explain what that means. Here, this area, the peot area, is not only not allowed to be a knife in contact with it, but it cannot be down to the skin. It has to be to the size that one can grab it with their nail, which is around a 1.5, 2, depending on the machine you're using. Obviously not a shaver. A shaver, like a shaver's 1, like a beard trimmer 1, is very, very short. We're talking like a regular buzzer machine, between a 1, 1.5, 2, it depends the machine you're using. Large enough that one is able to grab it, not touch it, but grab it. And that will differentiate in the method of cutting the hair one's allowed to do. So let's just see what he says over here, and then we'll complain. לפיכך ירא שמיים יצא את כולם ולא יעבור תר על כל זקנו כלל. So he says that the Shulchan Aruch says, since there's so many opinions on where are these 5 points, literally speaking, let's just say, imagine we went with the opinion that the 5 points is here, 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 here. Let's just say, okay? There's so many opinions. And let's say we go with the opinion that it's, let's say, only a finger's width. Ideally speaking, one could use a blade and just carve out those 5 spots. He's going to look like a fool, but literally, according to the letter of the law, that would be allowed if you go according to that opinion. The problem is where exactly are the 5 points? How big are each of those points? It's very, very. It's not a clear halacha. There's so many different opinions on it, and therefore the Shulchan Aruch says we avoid any of that. So now, how's the modern day shaving being done? It's being done with either trimmers, or which leaves a stubble, or even electric shavers. Now the electric shavers, not all of them are okay. The ones that are okay are the ones that the knife does not come in contact with the skin. So there's a grill on top, but even with the grill on top, sometimes there's, for example, like I've spoken about, the lift and cut system. The lift and cut system, what it does, in spontaneous, it pulls the hair, it lifts the hair closer to the shaver and cuts it. And by that, it's kind of pulling the skin in between the grill. and then the blade is actually coming in contact with the skin, or else how could it be so smooth? So therefore, lift and cuts need to be taken off from the blades, or you need to find a shaver that doesn't come so into contact. Each shaver needs to be analyzed in its own way. The best way, if a person could get away with, is just using the back of a trimmer, and then you always have a little bit of a stubble, which is in style now anyways. Or the most convenient is leaving a beard, because then you only need to take care of it once a week instead of every day. But that is when it comes to the beard. Again, to the hair, a person is allowed to, even with a blade, bald, go all the way around and blade that down. But this area over here has to not be used with a blade. It could be trimmed, shaved down to 1, 1.5, 2. Again, it depends the size, the type of machine you are using. And all the more so, I mentioned there's this style which is horrendous. The style is an ugly style, but again, style is all based on, it's all subjective. But they leave a beard and then they fade it out down to the skin, right where you're not allowed to, and then it starts fading up right to where you would be allowed to. It's exactly opposite of what we need. Take a picture of that. Opposite is what you're allowed. You could shave here, you could shave here, and this part is the part that needs hair. So now going back, why is it so important? It's very important because this is a Torah obligation that God told us, differentiate yourself from the Gentiles. The Goyim.
Why they allowed to the Kohanim and Levim?
So I think it was a special. It's like I'll answer you with a different halacha. We're not allowed to wear wool and linen, right? But the Kohen Gadol, his tzitzit, or even authentic tzitzit, I don't know if it was for everybody or just for Kohanim, was wool and linen. Yeah. So.
No, it's the same question. Why they allowed?
It's exact. It must be.
It's allowed for somebody and not allowed for others.
It's exerat hakatuv. I think it.
Because the Torah wasn't given for the Israel and not for the Kohanim.
Right, but each
for everybody.
Right, but each case has different scenarios, right? Sometimes you're allowed to kill someone. Sometimes you're not allowed to kill someone. Some people are allowed to come to birkat kohanim. Some people not. I guess every case has its own halachot, and I'm just not familiar enough with why, but that's the idea.
But we don't know the meaning of the 5 points.
We do. The reason why the 5 points and the reason why the sideburns is because that's something that the goyim for their idol worship would do.
Oh.
Yeah, and since that it's a Torah obligation, we cannot change it.
The Torah obligation, but the meaning of the 5 points.
I guess it was just to prevent one from completely shaving their beard and their sideburns down to resemble the idol worship of the goyim. That's what it is. Okay, that's when it comes to hair cutting. Bet. Anyone who would like me to come with them the next time they go to the barber, free of charge, it will be my pleasure to come with you to make sure everything gets taken care of. Bet. צריך להיזהר שלא ידור שום דבר ואפילו צדקה אין טוב לדור אלא אם ישנו בידו ייתן מיד. Now this is a halacha. The halacha is a person should not pledge charity, rather he should give it right away, or he should pledge it and give it right away. So we spoke about this last year. It always comes right after Yamim Noraim. Yamim Noraim, everybody pledged. Hundreds, thousands of dollars. Everybody pledges, right? And somewhat, are we expected to come the next day? So the halacha is as follows. A person has to know himself what's his plan for the year. If his plan for the year is to pledge everything at the beginning of the year because he wants to participate in the kibudim and the mitzvot that are on the high holidays, and he honestly and legitimately plans, and that's what he did last year and the year before, and he really plans on again this year on paying it month by month, that is completely allowed. Now, is it better to pay the sooner the better? Of course. But again, in our society, or at least the way that things work, people can pledge and then early. The problem with that is make sure that you actually pay it on time. And God forbid, if a person passes away and they have open accounts or open pledges, make sure to have either someone know to reconcile that or have it written in your will to make sure that it's taken care of, because as we know, the Zohar tells us when a person starts a mitzvah or commits to do a mitzvah, they create an angel which is blemished, like an imperfect angel. And that angel, until it's completed, is kind of like a mikatreg. It's kind of a prosecutor against you if you don't fulfill it. So you created that quasi angel, which is not good, not bad, until you procrastinate too long, and then it turns for the bad. Or when you finish off the mitzvah, it comes as a militzosher, it comes as an advocate and a lawyer on your behalf. So it's important not to prolong too much. However, the Shulchan Aruch still says, Yiten miyad. Miyad is, I guess, as quick as possible. Gimel, Kol ish Israel hayav b'talmud Torah. This, Benny, God made this halacha specific for us. Listen to this. Every single man of Israel, we'll explain why man and not woman, but every single man of Israel is obligated to learn Torah. Ben ani, ben ashir, whether the person is the unfortunate, poor, or if he's very wealthy. Ben shalem begufo, ben bal yisurin, whether he's healthy or whether he's suffering even, health-wise. Ben bahur, ben zaken, gadol, whether he is a young person or an older person, or even a very old person. Afilu ani amhazer aptachim, even a poor person who has to go around collecting money. Afilu imhu bal isha ubanim, even if a person is married to a wife and has children, which means you have responsibilities. Chayav likboa lo zman letalmud Torah bayom uvalayla. Every single day and every single night, a person has to set time to learn Torah. As we know, those are one of the three questions that a person is asked when he comes up to Shamayim. Do we know the three questions? Nasata v'natata b'emunah.
Business, honestly.
Yeah.
You study in Mashiach.
Woo, very good. Did you study night and day? And tzipita lishua, did you yearn the final redemption of Mashiach? Kol hakavod. Okay, so even if a person's married and even if a person has children, he's still obligated to learn day and night. Shenemar ve'agita bo yomam v'layla.
But by night they mean after Chatzot or?
No, after Shkia even, or even Tzet, let's say, after nightfall. You could read something small. Honestly, even just reciting Kirat Shema, you're covered. But so now let's just take a step. And what's the obligation? Why is it men that are obligated and women that are not obligated? Well, we are obligated, men, to actually, we have an obligation hovering over us. This is the way my Rebbe explained it to us. We have an obligation hovering over us as Jewish men to learn all of the Torah. That means the basic classic works, the Chumash, Nevi'im, Ketuvim, all the Mishnah, all the Talmud. What? Yeah, but this is not everything. This is a little bit of everything. That like that. And then, more. Midrashim, Zohar. As men, as Shulchan Aruch obviously is part of that. As men, Jewish men, we have this obligation hovering over us constantly to fulfill and to actually learn and know all of Torah. When we get up to Shamayim, we're going to have a test. We're going to have a test to see where you're standing. And it's not going to be easy. So we have this obligation. Now women have a different obligation. Women have an obligation to be there to raise the family and to be responsible for the house. For example, the famous line that was said was that the men are going out and fulfilling mitzvot, but the women are home building the Beit HaMikdash. That's what they're doing. They're building the Beit HaMikdash by raising the children and being madrich them, putting them in the path of Torah and mitzvot for the next generation, because all the credit we want to give ourselves as men, but nothing would be possible without the women. The women are the ones who raise the children from helplessness and set them on the right path. Everything is based on a woman. That's why it's so important to choose the right wife, because the right wife is going to be the mother to your children, which is going to continue and promote Judaism, tradition, and Torah, and all of that. But the women do, so women are not completely absolved from the mitzvah of learning Torah. They have an obligation to learn what pertains to them. Women have an obligation to learn the halachot of Shabbat. Women have a mitzvah to learn the halachot of lashon hara, of mikveh, of nidah, of lighting candles, of modesty. Women, whatever pertains to women are obligated to learn. Men, as a Jewish man, we're obligated to learn everything and anything, even if you don't think it pertains to you. It's. Do we start with that? No, because then you're probably going to get dried out and not continue. Normally we try to learn whatever's more pertaining. But we have this obligation hovering over us, and this is what the Shulchan Aruch is telling us. No matter what your case is, you're very well off, you're struggling, married, not married, healthy, not healthy, it doesn't matter. A person has to set time to learn every day. And thank God, those of us here, we learn every day. Those of us that come to Mincha, we learn between Mincha and Arvit. We have Kollel after Arvit. We have the opportunity, Baruch Hashem, here in Hollywood, Florida, to at least have set learning every day and every night, which is a beautiful thing. Now, if a person can't do it at the shul, can't do it in the Kollel, do it at home. Doesn't matter. Read it. Listen to it. It's so easy nowadays to get stuff done. Dalid, Ade matay chayav lilmod. Okay, person has to learn, but till when? Ad yom moto, until a person dies. Can anybody ever get up and say, I've learned enough, I know enough? Never, not in anything, and all the more so in Torah. So therefore, if a person ever thinks, I've learned enough, I did 1 year in yeshiva, I did 5 years in yeshiva, I did my share. Can we ever compare ourselves, let's just give an example, to Chacham Ovadia Yosef, who had a photographic memory, who learned everything, who knew everything verbatim, and did he stop learning?
Never.
So how could we even think of, let that concept enter our minds? Now there's different times in our life. Sometimes in times of our life we're able to dedicate all our day to learning Torah, a part of our day learning Torah, an hour to learning Torah. It doesn't matter what it is. But at every stage in a person's life, we have to dedicate that connection to God through His Torah, so we don't drift away. It's very, very important. Hey, so the Shulchan Aruch tells us that the first thing a person is judged on, the first thing a person is tested on, is his Torah study, his commitment to Torah, time-wise and even knowledge-wise. It's a very scary thing, right? Imagine now, okay, Moises, we're learning this. We just learned yesterday the second perek of Masechet Berachot. No, let's go. The Mishnah, the Gemara, the back and forth.
Everything, even our name.
We're gonna. So we just have to try our best. We can't get bogged down by the fear of what it's going to be, but once in a while we have to remember, we have to mention it in order to give us that push to commit ourselves, and we have to try our best. We know, God knows that we have degenerated over time as human beings and the world that we live in today, and He will, as we said, judge us according to our own deeds. I normally don't do this, but I'll end off with a story before we start the Talmud. I said this story in Yom Kippur, and Ben Torah was there. So listen to, this is an amazing story. One time, the Tsar of Russia decided that he wanted to travel the country and see everybody, visit everybody, an ego thrill, an ego boost. He wanted to go around and see how everyone pays him respect. So he went to the capital. Who knows what the capital of Russia is?
Wrong.
Everyone's wrong.
St. Petersburg.
Very good. St. Petersburg. He goes to St. Petersburg, and being that it's the capital and he lives in the capital, they had a 12-piece band welcoming him. They had a red carpet. They showed him honor like no one else. Then he goes to Moscow, which is not the capital, so we learned something. Over there, they made a 10-piece band. They put him a carpet. It wasn't brand new and nice and red, but they still honored him, and he was okay with it. He understood that it's further away. He went to every city, and everyone, 6-piece band, 8-piece band, 10-piece band, guest carpet, no carpet, meal, music, the whole thing. But until he went all the way to one city, far, far, far away by the Atlantic already. And over there, the ruler, the mayor of the city, got word that the Tsar was coming to visit them. And he got very scared because they had a tradition in their city that any newcomer that comes to the city, they greet them by throwing rocks at them.
Wow.
That's how they greet them. You're one of us. Let's rough you up. And he got very scared. The Tsar's going to come. They're going to greet him by throwing rocks at him. So he called for an emergency meeting. He invited everyone to City Hall. And the mayor gets up and he says, "Gentlemen and ladies, we are having a very important visit by the Tsar. Please, I'm begging you, leave our tradition aside and don't throw rocks at him." The Tsar came, everyone listened. They all stood like soldiers. There was no music, there was no carpet, there was no food, there was nothing. The Tsar was a little fazed by it, he moved on. He gets back to the capital, which is St. Petersburg. Gets back to the capital and he's recounting and going over his notes and the happenings of his trip, him and his advisors. And then they remembered the episode of that faraway city on the Pacific. And Pacific, Atlantic, which one? Atlantic. I said Atlantic, either way. Yeah, Atlantic, not Pacific. No, Pacific. Yeah. Russia doesn't touch the Atlantic.
It's
Pacific. Anyways, he's recounting that story, and one advisor says, "You know what? We should plow that city, destroy, kill all those people. They treated you with complete disrespect. No music, no carpet, no food. It was a disgrace to their ruler, their king." The king's about to say, "Let's go ahead with that." And one other advisor peeps up, he says, "My lord, I have something to tell you. They have a custom. Normally they throw rocks at newcomers. They withheld. To them, that was their 20-piece band. By them withholding and not throwing rocks, they did you the biggest honor possible. They went against their own traditions." And with this story, Chachamim explained to us that each generation is judged on their level. We unfortunately have steeped and stooped down to a place which is not as good as it should be. But we are all children and products of our society. We grew up in certain countries with certain ways. And this is not as an excuse and coming to give us a free run to do whatever we want. But at the end of the day, we have to remember that God loves us and God sees our efforts and judges us according to who we are. Just as like we were on that city in the Pacific, near the Pacific, would be judged accordingly. So too HaKadosh Baruch Hu judges each of us based on our circumstances and based on our upbringing, and we have to try to always improve it and make it better and better. B'ezrat Hashem. Baruch Adonai Adonam. Amen ve'amen.